Well, good morning and greetings from Fontana Dam. There's the business end of the electrical generation down there. And there's the lake back there. Crossing over Fontana Dam here, heading south back to my last car at Stokoa Gap. It's going to be about a 17-mile day, so tried to get an early start with the drive up here. It's about a 9 a.m. start, so probably 5:30, something like that in the evening before I get back to my trail car. It's supposed to get rain today, not surprising, and rain tonight. And so now I'm going to be staged when I complete today, with everything done south of the Great Smoky National Park, and then I'll go up to the midway point tomorrow and start hiking south. It's a little unclear to me how much snow is in the Smokies. I've seen some recent videos where, you know, foot of snow, 2 feet of snow, drifts. So yeah, gonna have to be prepared for some slow going there. Maybe it's sort of melted, or maybe some of the recent precipitation up there fell in the form of rain that washed some of the snow away. So big uncertainty in my mind right now, big uncertainty. But yeah, you know, you do what you got to do. Right now, I have 17 miles to hike. Well, a few days ago, I said I was going to recount the story of how I met Zorro 2 years ago. Zorro's a Triple Crowner. He is a Catalan from Barcelona. He spends 6 months a year hiking. He's been doing that for about 20 years. Works 6 months, hikes 6 months. Learned an important life lesson that day. I'm going to recount it to you. So I was coming up around dusk to Standing Indian Shelter, which is the first shelter after you pass from Georgia into North Carolina. And as I was approaching the shelter, I noticed there were little knots, 2s and 3s of what looked like high school kids, and some of them were certainly speaking Spanish. As I came up to the shelter, 2 of them came up to me, and sun was basically going down. The weather would definitely have gotten below freezing that night. None of the kids I saw were equipped for backpacking. They were just out for the day. No sleeping bags, nothing. And one of the 2 asked me in his best schoolboy English where the trail out of the forest went. Which direction should he go? So I tried to ask him, where did you come from? Did you come from this way? Did you come from the south? Did you come from the north? And I'm trying to help him as best I can. I'm trying to point him in the right direction. And he didn't know. You know, they were just out hiking. They didn't know. And there were other kids out, not in the immediate vicinity, but ones that I had run across like a half a mile before, something like that. And so I said, well, were you on the Appalachian Trail? No, sorry. He said, do we take the white trail or the blue trail? And I said, well, I don't know, because I don't know where you came from. And he didn't know where he came from. The white trail and the blue trail obviously meant the Appalachian Trail and whatever blue blaze trails they had seen. But the problem with blue blaze trails is pretty much everything off of the Appalachian Trail is a blue blaze. And not knowing where he had started, I couldn't even point him in the right direction. With that, another fellow came up. This was Zorro. I didn't know this till later. He apprised himself of the situation, and he started speaking to the kids in Spanish. It turns out they were a high school group from Peru, exchange students or something. And he spoke to him in Spanish, and I could tell from his tone that he was just trying to relax them. Hey, no, it's okay, you know, we're gonna get this sorted out. With that, I went off to the shelter, which was just, 50 meters away. And he came up to me a few minutes later and said, I'm gonna take these kids down the mountain. I'm gonna figure out where they're going. Can you watch my stuff? And he took his headlamp and a few other quick things, and he took control of the situation. Came back an hour or two later, and he had policed up all the kids from the mountainside. They had figured out what direction they should go to get back to their trailhead where their bus was. I'm sure Zorro had a few choice words in whatever language with the bus driver for releasing these kids off. And I learned a lesson that day. I had seen some kids in trouble, and I tried to point them in the right direction. I tried to help them as best I could, but I tried to point them in the right direction. Zorro, on the other hand, did better. He had the higher moral ground. He saw kids in trouble, and he made their problem his problem. He took control of the situation. I'm going to get these kids down one way or the other. I am now with them. He came back an hour or two later, obviously hiking by headlamp at that hour. And in the meanwhile, I said to myself, Zorro's a better man than I am. And I learned a lesson. 61 years old, and I learned an important life lesson in how to treat people who are in need. I ended up hiking with Zorro, fascinating guy. Someone close to me once met him for 15 minutes and later said to me, "This is the most interesting man I think I've ever met." And so he was. But I hiked with him all the way to the White Mountains, where we had to part ways because I had other things that I needed. We got stuck in the snow. And he was under a time constraint and I was not. So I went away out west and hiked some hundreds of miles of the PCT while he motored through the very, very deep, treacherous snows. And he later met up with the only person who was ahead of us at the time. And together they arrived at Katahdin, the first two hikers of 2019, Zorro and Twice. Anyway, I wanted to recount that story to you because of the important life lesson. I was able to keep that in mind. What would Zorro do later in the year? But that, recounting that tale is for another day. Hope you can find some value in what I learned from that life lesson as well, and I hope you're having a great day. Had an interesting experience just walking along here. So this is kind of on a ridge between two valleys. this side, there's a cold breeze coming up over this ridge, and as soon as I got like where that stump of a tree is, I could feel the warm air that's sitting down in this valley hit the side of my face, several degrees warmer. Immediately noticeable. Very strange. Very strange. So I've walked on about half a mile since I made that last video. The effect is still happening here, although as I walk down this ridge, sort of the orientation has changed a little bit. So you look down here, and there's no fog. That's all fog on that side. That's the cold side. Yeah, it's weird. A little micrometeorology here on the ET. Yeah, I mean, the effect was almost like coming from a chilly day walking into a heated room. It's crazy. Well, I made it back into town the last 2 or 3 hours, pretty much after I made those videos about the temperature. The rain came down and it just kind of came down. The trail ended up just getting so sloppy, so muddy. Almost every step I was just threatening to slide out from underneath me, and I never fell, but I had a few pirouettes here and there. But otherwise, it was a good day. You know, saw the other hikers, saw Oscar, saw Mr. Freeze. Saw Not Today. Evergreen, I think, is in the same hotel that I'm at in town tonight. He's taken a 0 today. Didn't see him. So tomorrow I flip up to the middle part of the Great Smoky National Park, and I'm going to be heading southbound from Newfound Gap, and probably going to have some weather there too. So it should be interesting. Hope you're having a great day.